لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
Rahim. There's a few things I would like to do for the Tariqa workshop, for those who are online and so those who are present, maybe more will come and there will be inshallah more online. I know most of the students or the murids will be here for tonight since it's the majlis inshallah. So some of them may be logging on as they're coming. A lot of you are from out of state, so I appreciate your interest. So I had a few things in mind. And I think what I will begin with is a guided meditation, very short, in which we use the breath. And then I will direct you into noticing the other constants of the meditation experience, or what I call the constants of the meditation experience. So I will attempt to explain that a little bit, and then we will begin the guided meditation, inshallah. So that will hopefully, inshallah, help us with the meditation itself. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, what I term the constants of the meditation experience are those elements of the experience that actually are always present, but are subtle, and as if in the background of our experience. And we, in meditation, in the practice of meditation, we begin to notice them more and more. The first is the breath, that may be the most obvious. We're obviously always breathing, but are we aware of the breath? Are we simply even aware of each and every breath? The answer is obviously, unfortunately, no. The most simple and most direct blessing of life we're unaware of. So that already shows you, our state of what you could call unconsciousness or heedlessness from a spiritual point of view. In Arabic, in Islamic spirituality, our state of afla, being heedless of reality, of our reality and God's presence. So you could say that the first constant is the breath. It is perhaps the most easiest one to become aware of and to become comfortable with, the contemplative support for the meditation experience. In fact, the breath itself can be a profound object to help us concentrate and become more grounded and centered. The next would be the more subtle constant of stillness. What we have in mind is not only the stillness of the body in meditation, which naturally occurs as we sit and we relax and we are simply present for ourselves, but a more subtle stillness that we may encounter in the meditation experience. It's a stillness, again, that is always present, but we never noticed it. Even amidst the subtle movements of our body, of our breathing, and the movements of the mind, there is a stillness that is always present, and as if observing each and every movement. So that stillness is the subtle stillness that we're speaking of. That is a constant that can be noticed, and when it is, it very directly, but in a relaxed way, it calms us. It brings us back to this very background of our experience, this sense of stillness, which could also be called the sense of beingness. This sense of beingness, one could say also, but we'll stick with the constant of stillness. Perhaps more subtle than stillness is the constant of silence. That, in other words, when we have to become aware of the breath enough to then become aware of a sense of stillness inwardly, we may come to notice more and more an ever-present silence that pervades all of this experience. This again is found in the background of our experience. in the meditation process. And finally, I would say the subtle constant of openness, a sense of being open to whatever arises in our experience, internally as well as externally. To simply be open to, for example, an altercation, a dialogue, an uncomfortable feeling, a very beautiful feeling, a loving relationship, a confrontation. To be contemplative about this is to be is to recognize a sense of unconditional openness to whatever that experience is. When we are open like that as the openness, when we simply are the openness, then we align our inner self with what is necessary to be present for whatever situation or experience or object arises in our experience. So these, I would say, are what I like to speak of as the four constants of the meditation process. And so we will work with them. We'll begin with the breath, inshallah, and perhaps we will go to the next and the next and the next, inshallah. One thing I could add here as a means of contemplating when we are there, as I may add a few words in the guided meditation, is that the first constant, which is the more obvious one, is the breath, and this constant can be used as a support to notice even more each of the other constants. The breath and the stillness, the breath, the stillness and silence, the breath, stillness, silence, and openness. So the breath can be harnessed in our human presence, in our discovery or cultivation of the human presence. But it is the stillness that is really at the center of the human presence, one could say. And in the beginning of what we could call an opening to the divine presence. At the heart of the divine presence is silence. And at the heart, the background, and also the foreground of the prophetic presence is openness to what is and to what arises. In the meditation experience, when the mind, which is reduced to its attentiveness, when the attention finally settles and is gathered, it will naturally turn inwards. It will, as it were, turn around and almost face itself. As it does this, the attention returns to its source as aware presence and being and pure beingness, and will dissolve in that. That is touching the background of your experience. That's actually always present, because then at some moment you will discover that that background is always present. From another angle, that background is the heart, is the qalb of your consciousness that is always present. But meditation allows us to return to it and to notice it more. And one aspect or purpose or goal of meditation is to discover, is to be still enough to discover this background of the spiritual heart, of the qalb, and to facilitate the background coming into the foreground of our conscious awareness, so that everything that arises in life is as if transparent to this consciously awakened background, that background being the heart. And so, inshallah, this will be a process, perhaps, that we will attempt to work or cycle through the constants, inshallah. So we'll begin with the breath. Bismillah. Try to be simply present in a relaxed way. And as you sense the space around you and perhaps some of the sensations of your body, um, any part of the body or the whole body will do. As you do this, and as you're present in a relaxed way, bring awareness to your breath. Bismillah. If you feel that your attention has wandered, gently recognize that, become aware of that, and gently bring your attention back to the sensing of the breath or your awareness of the breath. Bismillah. And with each breath, relax into yourself. As a means of gathering our attention even more, with your awareness of the breath, on the in breath, straighten your spine a little and hold it at its peak. At the out breath, relax upon the straightness of your spine. Relax the spine upon its own straightness and relax your shoulders and chin on this out breath. Repeat this cycling of the breath and the straightening and a relaxing upon the straightness of the spine. Bismillah. If your attention wanders, simply awaken to the awareness and return to any part of this cycling of the breath that naturally brings your attention back. Remember that you do not have to be perfect at this. You simply have to be present for the whole process. The concentrating, forgetting, the awakening to forgetting, and the relaxing back into being present. As awareness to this constant of the breath has perhaps made us more gathered and relaxed, bring some awareness or attention to the sense of your stillness. Continue to use the breath as a support to notice your sense of stillness. Not necessarily the stillness of your body, although your body is now more relaxed and perhaps the mind is more gathered, but the stillness that is more subtle than the stillness of your body. And that stillness that is always present, that doesn't come and go. Attempt to subtly, in a relaxing way, recognize that stillness, that inner stillness, that ever present stillness. Notice that that subtle stillness is always present. It is always still, even amidst the subtle movements of your body as you breathe. So it's not a physical stillness, it's a more subtle spiritual stillness. That is always present. Notice that it is from that stillness that we are aware and that we observe. It is from that stillness that we actually observe all arisings in our consciousness, inside of us and outside of us. It is that stillness that witnesses all things as the witness in you. That inner witness is the meeting point, the meeting place of the heart in which you are the witness and God is the witness of you. Do not analyze that statement, simply verify it by experiencing your stillness. As we begin resting more and more in this stillness, I invite you to notice the silence that pervades and is prior to this stillness, that is also always present. Notice the spaciousness of this silence, the unperturbed nature of this silence. That all sound may arise in it, and yet it is undisturbed. Try to listen to the sound of the silence that is always present. How does silence sound? Be the silence and you will know. Return to what already is and you will know its sound. This constant of the meditation experience that is the subtle silence is also a sacred silence. It is your meeting point with the face of God, God's presence in you. Through the silence, as you listen to all things that arise in you and around you, through the silence, listen for God as the silence. and not only listen for God as the silence, listen to God as the silence. Bismillah. If you are capable, gently and slightly open your eyes as you look down and notice that the silence remains. The silence even pervades your outer experience. These words may fill your silence, but they never fulfill it. These words and the sounds of these words come and go in the spaciousness of your silence, but the silence remains always what it is. This ever-present, spacious, undisturbed silence is the silence of the vast heart. That was perhaps in the background of your experience, but as you began to notice it more and more in meditation, it has become the conscious foreground of your experience. Feel free to keep the eyes open or return, closing them as you will. But if you keep your eyes open, allow the silence to soak in and make transparent all the objects of your experience. And as you begin to raise your eyes and begin to connect with your outer experience, notice the ever-present openness of the silence. That the silence is always embracing all things. Like God's mercy, according to the Quran. My mercy embraces all things. In your direct experience, the all-embracingness of the silence is already God's mercy, His rahmah. That embraces all things. As you look perhaps at other objects in your in the space that you are in, as you open your eyes more, see the transparency of these things amidst the quality of silence and openness that embrace them. Take a few moments to engage with this exercise of openness and transparency as this openness to all things. Feel free to return to the breath as a support, as an anchor. Notice the silence again amidst the openness and your stillness. Register the quality of your experience now as compared to when you began. Understanding that all the constants that we just brought attention to and that we simply began noticing more have always been present in your direct experience. That, in other words, the dimensions or the elements of the heart, the presence of your heart, your spiritual heart has always been present. And what this meditation simply did was help you notice it more and to breathe from it more and to move in it more and to embrace all things from the divine mercy of the presence of the heart more. In this openness, let us recite the opener, Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الحمد لله. Before I open up to comments, I wanted to ask you all a few questions, and I'd like you all to actually answer them, maybe as briefly as possible. What would you say the quality of your mind is now as compared to when you started? What is the quality of your mind? Let's start with Abdul Hakim.
Definitely slowed down, but there's also a cleaner quality to it.
So, and specifically your mind, right? So a sense of slowing down of your mind and a cleaner quality. And we'll come back to that. Izzuddin. More detached, more retreated into the inner silence and not attached to the mundane objects of our consciousness in our everyday to-day life. Very good. Bismillah, Sidi Rashid.
I had a sense like he did of being cleaner in the way of being more focused and solving.
Cleaner, a nice word here is also clarity that's used. But that's an interesting word, the feeling that the mind is more clear. So what was the other word you said? More focused.
Focus.
Is the
solving.
All right, focused and consolidated. Is the mind more focused in a rigorous way or in a relaxed way?
I would say more in a relaxed way. Actually, in a strange way, was more observable than presence.
Excellent. MashaAllah. Very confirming. But and I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouth. Say the Saja, say this Deepa.
The mind afterwards is more detached.
More, so your mind is more detached of the observing that you were doing. What was the nature of the observing that your mind was doing prior to your like the meditation, and then as you entered, and now as you exited?
Before it was in thoughts.
In
It was
thoughts.
like trying to narrowly focus on thought. I was trying to bring it away back to the breath. But then as we went through the practice, then it stopped. It just started just observing.
All right.
Just more passive.
So in a sense, kind of more present, more alert and open. You know, are those words that could be used?
And not so hardly focused.
And so
Not
not so narrow in the focus, not so determined or concentrated in the focusing, but just simply more focused in a relaxed, open yet alert way, in a passive yet alert way. You could even say in a passive yet active way, right? All right. Mr. Ozma. So it's as if time has stopped and you're in this very serene space that is a kind of calmness. Very good. Well, mashallah, congratulations to all of you. You discovered your heart, the background that is always present in your direct experience, and you brought the heart out. So the attentiveness of the mind that was absorbed in objects and identified with them, whether we experience this as impurity, uncleanliness, toxicity, absorption, identity, movement, agitation, right? Returned its energies to its source. The mind returned its energies to its source, the heart. And then as we noticed that more, we allowed the mind to come back out, but as an open heart. And so now the mind, like the moonlight, reflected the qualities of the sun, of the heart. And so it assumed the illumination of the sun as its own. And this is what then we experience when the background becomes a conscious in the foreground, where there's a kind of merger, a coming out of the heart as a clear, open, steady, and present mind. So I'm happy to hear all this. See if there's any comments online. Very subtle, like flowing, and everything feels transparent, alhamdulillah. In this context, I'd like to read something in this very context. And then we can open up to more insights if any of you had any. All right. This is a text on alchemy, which in this context means an alchemical transformation or transubstantiation of the human consciousness and the human body by the practice of the invocation of the divine name. That was a major teaching method of one of my teacher's teachers. And so I'm reading from that. The alchemy of the regions of the body. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The human microcosm comprises three spiritual regions. The mind or head, the forehead, which would be mind or head or forehead, the heart, and the body or the chest or breast. The heart represents being, the mind, consciousness or knowing, and the body, beatitude. In its fallen state, which has become natural to the human soul, the mind is agitation. Before I go on to the next, before you accessed your heart, All right, because now we verified the statement in our meditation. We verified the contrast between the agitation of mind and its calmness, its clarity, its gatheredness, its transparency, its ability to be actually focused in a relaxed way rather than competing with its agitation and attempting to concentrate it in a narrow way to try to slow it down. Something else happened in our meditation. Are you all with me? And we verified this. All right. Let's turn to the question of the heart that you touched, the center of your being. How would you honestly describe the heart before you rediscovered it in this meditation? Be honest. Constricted. Any other words that may just capture the state or the experience of your heart?
Hidden.
Okay, hidden or absent, I would even say. So hidden, absent, constricted. Anyone else?
Looking around in many different directions.
All right, so the heart kind of just being dispersed all over the place, more like the mind, but in a similar way. Any other words? Ilyasuddin? All right, so an anxious heart, very similar to what you're saying in terms of dominated by an emotional force that makes it flip flop. Actually in Arabic, the very meaning of the word taqallab, which means to flip flop, to oscillate. This is where the word qalb actually comes from. Isn't that interesting? Okay, that's a side note for the Arabic studies. In its fallen state, become natural to it. The mind is agitated. In the same fallen state, the heart is hardened. So it's everything that we said, right? So the heart is this point of stillness, but it's usually hardened or absent. We don't even notice it, or it's become hardened by our thinking, by our emotive feeling, by our actions. It's become hardened. It's forgotten its real nature that is connected to God and the qualities of God, not the qualities of the world. What you described, anxiety, agitation, movement here and there, are the qualities of the world, actually. It's been colored by that, and so therefore, it is as if it dies. It hardens. How would you describe the experience of your body when you started the meditation, during the meditation, and after the meditation? Feel free to raise your hand or just respond. Yes.
There's a lot of tension for the meditation.
So a lot of tension or tightness in the body before meditation. How about after the meditation?
There's a lot more relaxation.
So a lot more relaxation.
In the meditation, there was an active process of especially breathing along the spine, loosening that tension.
So that part of the meditation of breathing along the spine allowed some kind of release,
Yeah,
and a kind of
like
loosening of the tension.
Yeah, an active release.
So an active release. All right. Any more words to describe the states or what you experienced? Any other words that come to your heart or mind about the body? It reduces or releases the tension that you were feeling in the body. Any other words?
It caused the body felt agitated, but it felt like the same as the mind.
Interesting.
The mind were mirroring.
So the mind and body were mirroring each other in their agitation, in their tension,
And then the
Yes.
relaxation too.
and then in the relaxation. So when the mind relaxed, the body felt or experienced a kind of state of relaxation. Correct. Okay. So the heart is hardened. The mind is agitated in the fallen state. The heart is hardened in the same state, and the body is outward. Is outward. But I like the term is tense. Feels more solid. So for me, before the meditation, my body felt a bit more solid, a bit more hard. But after the meditation, my body felt lighter, clear, transparent. not a body at all, almost. Transparent body, kind of luminous body. That's how it felt afterwards, right? So this is very interesting that these words that we are hearing or listening to in this text, you have all verified by direct experience, right? This natural alchemy that happens when we return to meditation as a state of dhikr, as a state of remembrance, as a practice of remembrance of reality, of consciousness, of being, of God's presence, of our presence, of God's presence, even the prophetic presence. In their spiritual state, so we just went from the fallen state, which was our pre-meditative state, right? Our pre-meditative fallen state of contraction of the body, or tension, agitation, and hardening of heart, or absence of heart, actually, I would say absence. It wasn't even there. It was, From this fallen state, now in their spiritual state, so we could even use the word in their awakened or consciously awakened state, right? Due to the meditation process, they become, the mind becomes calm and serene. The heart, from its hardness, becomes alive and illumined by the self, capital S, which is the divine presence inward, capital S. It's a word more often used in other spiritualities for the divine presence, for the inmost secret, what the Sufis call the sir, the inmost secret, is God's presence in your inmost self. This is capital S self in, for example, the Vedanta or other mystical spiritualities. It's the Atman, one could say. But in Islamic spirituality, it is the secret. It's the secret of Allah with his servant. It's the secret of the Lord with his servant in the inmost secret of the human consciousness. And for the body, so the heart that was hardened becomes alive and quickened. And the body that felt closed and tight in reaction or response to, our passions and the desires and fears and all these other currents of conditioning, right, becomes an open, transparent symbol to existence and life. So I'm paraphrasing some of the words. Did we not experience all of this from before the meditation, in the meditation, and afterwards? That is because you successfully returned to the heart, even for a moment, and you brought, by just simply naturally, spontaneously, by touching and resting in the heart, you brought the qualities of the presence of the heart back out with you through a process of journeying with these four constants of the meditation process: the breath, stillness, silence, and the openness, which are ever-present constants, which you have verified in your direct experience, which are, in other words, the quality of the beingness and awareness and the presence of the heart, the spiritual heart, the qalb, that Islamic spirituality terms. So alhamdulillah, welcome to presence. Alhamdulillah. So we'll end the Tariqa workshop here. I thought I would read that, and just wanted to show you how reading is one thing, but experiencing and then understanding what the words are saying because you have tasted them is another matter. Alhamdulillah. So I'll open up to any comments, any further comments that you'd like to make or you'd like more experience to share. So that's the reason.
because of that, it's not making, it's not like free flowing down a really rapid here, bubbly and
Yes. And so, in fact, or I would just say, in reality, and one should verify it, all of these are the one and same quality of presence, of your presence, or rather of the presence of the heart. They are the qualities of the heart. The heart has the quality of stillness when it is awakened. It's still yet alive, right? It's not still and hardened, right? Or simply absent and still, but we didn't even realize it was still. Right? It's stillness, right? It's also silence. There's a silent spaciousness of the vastness of the heart, once really encountered and awakened. But what's really happening when you awaken the heart, or when it is opened, or when you feel an opening of heart, is just simply a recognition of the vastness of it, right? Something is as if opening in you, but the heart is the same. It is what it is. But you experience it. You go from a hardness of heart to actually a lightness, a flowing of heart, an awakening of heart. But the awakening is just simply a recognition of the vastness of heart, spiritual heart, that's actually always present. That's always this. So these are constants of stillness and silence and openness, which is also a quality of the heart. How will your experiences be known and be seen on the day of judgment? Because they're already in your heart. Your whole life experience, not even as if being downloaded, it is part and parcel of your heart. So your heart will just kind of show your life. It's an openness to your experiences and what happened and how you responded and how you may have colored them. Because beyond that, or prior to all of your coloring and conditioning, is the unconditional openness of the heart, which actually belongs to God. It's his secret with you. This is the sir, right? So this is what what Allah will show you, that I was always present, and here's what actually happened. And your whole life will play. And then after that, maybe the interactions of hearts, right, which then will need to be resolved. So this is all. What does the Quran say? On that day, the only thing that will benefit them is what? Qalban Salim, sound heart. So we went from an ill heart to a healthy, sound heart in 25 minutes, half an hour. We cycled through this whole experience, and it's a simply returning back to what already is. But I wanted to make this point about the qualities. These are actually always present as the presence of the heart, of the spiritual heart. You can call it the heart intellect. But stillness, one could say, contemplatively mirrors or is connected to the first theme. Stillness and purity, taking refuge from the world in this, in pure stillness, or in the stillness of purity. Silence is more the third theme, you could say.
Breath is the second theme.
You could say the breath is you could say that and so these are not completely fixed, right? You could say the breath is either the second theme or the fourth, or you could say the openness is the second or the fourth, right? And you can interchange even stillness, right? Because these are the qualities of passivity, activity, and as they manifest in the theme. So for those who have practiced the themes of meditation, these can be used as contemplative supports to enter the theme, experientially, and then invoke from there, right? These four constants, which align to the four themes in their own way. And what is prior to these four constants are the words I used, beingness and presence. Right? can say, so aware presence and aware being. Or so aware beingness is the fifth theme, pure being, right? If you remember the texts, pure beingness. And sacred presence, or sacred living or sacred life is the sixth. Kind of holy life, holy presence of self, capital S, is what is awakened by the invocation of the supreme name with this contemplative orientation. Right? So all of the six themes are contemplative orientations, which can be complemented by these contemplative supports that we just encountered. So just wanted to mention, yes.
I just want to say the image that Sayyidi Izzuddin was providing of this brook that doesn't make a sound, and that, like, I was just imagining that, and that's a really beautiful image for the third theme, and it like brought me in to the third theme, right? Like very, like the idea that there's this body of water that's flowing that's not making a sound, like that was a really beautiful description that really contemplative.
And the kind of stillness of pond. So these are also images embedded in our sacred unconscious or our sacred sub and supraconscious by the texts. So you have in the third theme is aligned with the experience, aesthetically and also experientially of a still pond. The stillness, the quality of stillness in a pond. Right? This is what we don't experience, or we don't have in our memory, a pond being shaken and agitated. Still pond. So imagine the quality of a still pond. Existentially, that's the third theme. Then invoke from there. Invoke Allah's name as that. Right? So this is so these are other ways to invoke or to remember God and to remember your human presence, to awaken the divine presence, and to embody the prophetic presence, as I would call them, right? So, and we'll end here, Wallahu ta'ala alam, any other final thoughts? We've hit the hour mark. Good, all right. Bismillah.
About your expression, hardened heart. I think people, if you describe someone as having hardened heart, they've done that because they thought they were hurt, betrayed. They trusted someone who was telling the truth and found out they were not telling the truth. So they decide to somehow defend themselves by being untrusting, cynical. Distance themselves.
Yes, precisely.
Intimate, friendly,
yes,
normal
yes,
relationship.
Yes, like that's like the way you ended that. Kind of intimate, friendly, and normal. Intimacy involves what? Openness, right? What you can call outwardly is a vulnerability, but it's not. So you're not feeling vulnerable when you're intimate. You are open. You are completely open. You're sharing a sense of beingness in intimacy, in love, right? Like that's an open heart. Like that's an awakened and alive heart. You're correct that the heart hardens due to the results of actions by ourselves and by others in our life. Right? We can be miserly, for example. We can be miserly, and that will shut our heart. That'll harden our heart. But when we give as a sacrifice, even when we don't want to, that opens the heart. There's just something that flows. That is generosity. It opens the heart. So it goes both ways. Like that was my point about the hardness. But you're right that that is, in hardness of heart is the fallen state, is the actual unnatural state of the heart. So the heart was made to actually, like the physical heart, to be alive, to actually be quickened and opened and moving, but in a way, in its stillness, to be alert and open, to be liquefied, to flow. But our natural state becomes, or the default state becomes hardening. So we become hardened by life circumstances, by how we've been hurt by the ones we love, how we've hurt others, how we've not been generous to the neighbor or to anyone, or even to ourselves. So all these things, or we forget God again and again and again, and we obsess ourselves by sins, especially even major sins. All these things harden the heart. As the verses of Quran speak of, that like they have rusted their hearts, like rust came upon their hearts hardened, a seal was placed upon their hearts. That is describing not that astaghfirullah, God is evil and he's just, ha ha ha, he's, kind of sealing hearts. No, we sealed their hearts, or their hearts were sealed, is the natural process of what occurs. It's a law of, you could say, metaphysics, right? Like there's laws of physics, but this is a natural law of hardening. So our conditioning hardens our hearts. Spiritual unconditioning will awaken the heart when we uncondition ourselves from the conditioning. And so this really is an important insight. What's the nature of a hardened heart? Why does it happen?
Or maybe even way out is hardening your, is to cultivate a sense of forgiveness. You did me wrong. I know you did wrong, but I'm going to forgive you anyway. You can, that's not hardening of the heart. That's kind of softening it.
Yes. And I accept your forgiveness, right? So both sides of that, because it takes a lot of sacrifice and generosity to actually forgive when you've been hurt. And that immediately releases the energetic kind of blockage of whatever you want to call it, the karma between the effects of the moral effects between two particular souls. But it's also up to the other soul to receive that, see the generosity in that, be melted by this, be humbled by it, and accept it, so that whatever's in their heart is also released. And so it works to liberate, kind of in both ways. But of course, the most important one is the one who initiates. That this is most important. But it's a giving on both sides, and because it allows the hardened heart to finally melt, to begin to melt, and to flow. Because this is the natural purpose of the heart. Anyone else as a final? So I hope that was helpful, and you can use any of this meditation. You can use the support of any of these constants, or all of them, in your Muraqaba, as you remember Allah and you bring the wird or the awrad or even the invocation of the Supreme Name kind of with you, inshallah. And as a final note, I'll say, because I might have mentioned the human presence, the divine presence, the prophetic presence, some of these constants, as I suggested, that the constant of the heart can be used as a support to awaken or rest in or live by any of these presences, human presence, the divine presence, and the prophetic presence. But I would say that stillness is at the heart of the human presence. When you awaken the sense of stillness, when you discover it, it organizes your human presence, makes the mind feels more still, you turn more inward, you begin observing. Right? Then I would say for the divine presence, it's the heart of this is the silence, to actually discover the innate silence, which helps you listen to your own self, but also listening to the unseen, silent presence of God, who's always present and who is silence in this life, but will speak in the next, actually. Okay. And then I would say that openness is the support that can be used for the prophetic presence, precisely when we forgive, when we participate in the virtues. Every virtue can be reduced contemplatively to a sense of openness. Right? Groundedness, yes, in terms of humility, which is the mother of all virtues. But there's, humility, nobility, and generosity, which would be, as Sheikh Isa says, the essence of all the virtues. And all of this is found in openness. When we are open, we are actually humble. In this way, when we are open like this to everything as it is, this immediately grounds us and we are humbled. when we're not looking from a particular posture because we think we're special at someone, but we're actually entirely open to engaging someone, that brings us to humility, actually. It does. And we rediscover our innate nobility, and we are generous. So all of the virtues, the prophetic embodiment, the embodiment of prophetic presence is found in this contemplative support of openness, of pure openness to what is. So, wallahu alam, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله